Alright, so Unit 17, Day 3, Part 2. So this is just going to be questions 10 through, well, the end. So on this first section, we have, it's asking us, given each equation, determine whether the function opens up or down, and determine the y-intercept. So if you remember correctly, okay, if it's going to open up or down, okay, that part A will be positive slash negative. Okay, if it opens up, then A will be positive. If it opens down, then A is negative. And when I'm talking about A, I'm talking about AX squared plus BX plus C. Okay, if this number up here on the front is positive, it opens up, and if it's negative, then it opens down. Okay, now the number here on the end, okay, the C on the end, that's going to be the y-intercept. Okay, now that's pretty much true for every function that there is. Okay, there's a few exceptions, but that's pretty much how it's going to go. Alright, so on this first one, okay, to tell if it opens up or down, we're going to look at the very front, okay, right there in front of the x squared. If it's positive, then it means it opens up, okay. If it were to be negative, it opens down, okay. The y-intercept, okay, the y-intercept is negative 11. Alright, number 11, okay, we got a negative out front. That means that it opens down. Okay, the y-intercept on this one is going to be positive 8. Alright, now this, we got a negative 3. Therefore, it opens down. And the y-intercept is going to be negative 2. And it's very easy at that point. Alright, now moving along here, okay. Okay. It asks us to compare the following quadratic functions by stating what is the same and what is different about them. Alright, now if we go from f of x to g of x here, okay, well, what's changed between the two? Alright, so we notice that there's no longer a 3 in the front, and not only is there no longer a 3 in the front, but the sign on the very front has changed. Okay, so not only is g of x wider, okay, but it is also reflected, okay, across the x-axis. Alright, so g of x is wider because the number in front of the x squared is smaller in magnitude because it's just a 1. Okay, it's just a 1 on the front. So the number on front of the x squared is smaller, therefore it is wider, and it is also reflected across the x-axis because the sign changed. Alright, so on number 14, okay, we can see that the number on the front has increased, okay, therefore it's going to be skinnier, so h of x is skinnier, okay, but if you also notice, the number on the front went from being positive to being negative, okay, whenever it switches from being positive to negative like that, it means that there's going to be a reflection, okay, so okay, and we just leave it like that, okay, h of x is skinnier and reflected. And there we have it. Okay, number 15. Okay, now we all know that 1/2 is smaller than 3/4, so therefore it's going to be wider. So we say k of x is wider, and since it went from being positive to being negative, we'd say something along the lines of and reflected, sorry. Also, we're going to mention that the y-intercept, this number on the end, has changed. So we've got a y-intercept has changed. Okay? Now, we can say the same thing here. Okay? So y int changed. Okay? Almost forgot to mention that. Okay? And it's pretty simple there. No big deal. Alright, now number 16. Okay? Which will be the effect on the vertex of the parabola if the equation is changed. Okay? If the equation is changed to y equals negative 4x squared plus 1. So which of the following will be the effect if we change from here to here? Okay, now let's look at these two things. Okay, so we got, I'm just going to say y1 equals 4x squared plus 1. And all that is just me identifying which one is which. Okay, and then we got y2. Okay, equals negative 4x squared plus 1. So let's see, what has changed? Okay, well, let's see. What has changed between these two lines? Well, right there. One has a positive 4 on the front, one has a negative 4 on the front. So what that tells me is that it has actually reflected across the x-axis. Okay? Pretty simple there. Okay? Just some logic, not a whole lot of work there. Okay? Number 17, of the functions listed below, which produces the widest graph? Okay? Well, there's a couple of things that you can do. You can actually plug this into your calculator, and it's very simple, okay? You just load each of these into the calculator. Say f1 of x, f2 of x, f3 of x, f4 of x, and see which one produces the biggest graph, which one produces the widest graph, rather. Okay? But, as we all know, okay, when a gets closer to 0, okay, that means, and that's absolute value of a, okay, so whenever the number in front of x squared, whenever the size of that gets smaller, it actually gets wider, okay, so D is the correct answer because that is as close as we can get to 0 between those four options. Alright? Alright, so on a computer screen, the path of a ballistic missile is tracked. It is defined by the equation h of t equals negative 0.5 t squared plus 2t plus 38. Now, if you remember, okay, where h is height in kilometers and t is time in minutes, what are the coordinates of the maximum point and what do they mean? Okay, so if you remember back to towards the beginning of the notes, we talked about vertexes, okay? And vertices are the maximum or minimum of an equation. All right, so what we need to do is we need to actually find what the x-coordinate of that is. And if we bounce back to that, what we have to do is use that negative b over 2a equation. All right, so what we do now is we take b and put it over 2a. So we're going to have negative 2 over 2 times negative 0.5. Alright, which is going to be negative 2 over 2 times negative 5 is going to be negative 0.5, my fault, is going to be negative 1, which equals 2. Okay, which is x. Okay, so the x coordinate is going to be, it's going to be 2. Okay, now what we do is we take that 2 and we plug it back into the original equation, and that's going to be negative 0.5 2 squared plus 2 times 2 plus 38. So we've got negative 0.5 times 4 plus 4 plus 38. And that would be, let's see, 4 times 0.5 is negative 2 plus 4 plus 38. Negative 2 plus 4 is 2. 2 plus 38 is 40. So that's going to be our y coordinate. Okay? And the meaning of this coordinate is after 2 minutes, okay, the missile is 40 kilometers high. There you go. Okay, that's all there is to that. Alright, now, next question. Okay. A chemist finds that the relationship between two chemicals, A and B, in a chemical reaction varies by the equation A equals B squared. She graphs this relationship with A being the dependent variable. After adding a catalyst to the reaction, she finds that the relationship has changed to A equals 2.5 B squared. Describe how the graph of this new relationship is different from that of the original relationship. Alright, now if we remember, okay, if this number on the front increases, which originally there was a 1, now there's a 2.5, okay, so the graph is going to be more narrow, okay. Alright, so we've changed that number on the front. As it gets bigger, the graph gets more narrow. As it gets closer to 0, it gets wider, right? So the graph is narrower. Alright, last one. Okay. Alright, so the box contains the graph of the equation. The box contains the graph of the equation y equals negative 1/4 x squared plus 9. What would the graph look like if the equation were changed to y equals negative x squared plus 9? Okay. Alright, so let's see. What are our options? Alright, well, it says, let's see, we were going from here, and that's what's in here. So what would the graph look like if we changed it to this? Okay, so it's going to flip over and be more skinny. Okay, Oh, no, not flipped over. Just, it's going to be skinnier, right? Okay, still touching the same part of the y-axis, okay? So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That one doesn't work. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. That's a good one. That's a good one. Okay, and this one doesn't work because it doesn't cross the right part of the y-axis. Okay, now as we look at these two, okay, B and C, okay, we'll notice that the number on the front, okay, we have a 1 and we have a 1/4, okay? The 1/4 should be wider, okay? This has the 1/4, so that means that this should be skinnier, so the correct answer is C.